Hey everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on this video from the Cheapo Dad. Today's video is going to be different than any video that I've ever made. It's going to be really personal, so I would appreciate it if you have the time to watch the video in its entirety. It is a little bit complex, but in a nutshell, I'm going to be telling you how I went from this to this in a period of about 2 years, and then from this to this in a period of 11 years, roughly. And then I'm going to tell you about where I like to go next. I'm also going to talk about some struggles that I had. Growing up, for the most part, I looked like I do now. I would say, like an average person or average kid or whatever. I'm on the short side, but can't do much about that. I would always you've heard the term skinny fat, and that's how I would classify myself, meaning that, sort of from the neck up, and for the most part I look like an average person, but underneath I've always been pretty soft, and I sport a nice set of man boobs and a nice jelly roll, but I'm okay with that for the most part. In my early 20s, I started to put on weight, and before you knew it, I got up to about 200 pounds, and on someone's frame like mine, 5'6", that would be definitely considered obese. So I decided to make some changes, mainly to my diet, and mostly it was just not eating fast food, because I was eating a lot of fast food at the time. And I also worked in a bakery, lots of good food around there. I didn't really do much working out. It was mostly all just diet. I lost about 50 pounds, and I kept it off. I kept it off for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half or so. But over time, as what happens with many of us, not only did I gain all the weight back, but I gained it all back and some. And over time, I would go on and, try to get my act together, and I would drop 10, 15, 20, 25 pounds, 40 pounds. But every time, I would put the weight back on. And not only that, but I would put the weight back on with an additional 5 to 7, 10 pounds every time. I tried everything, diet, different kinds of exercise, yoga, Body by Jake, even at one point hired a personal trainer. So I basically went from a period in 2005, after losing that 50 pounds that I told you about, being at 150, to my heaviest by 2010, so about 5 years later. I was 320 pounds at my heaviest. So yeah, that's right. I put on about 170 pounds in a period of 5 years, or an average of about 34 pounds a year. I'm just going to preface this at the beginning. This is really personal and really hard for me to talk about, so I don't need a bunch of armchair quarterbacks or negative marks in the comment. This is just me talking about my experience in my life and my truth. So after a lot of research, I decided to make the decision to have gastric bypass surgery. Now, I have this paralyzing fear of death, like to the point of like phobia. Like, I really have myself convinced I'm going to live forever, right? At that point in my life, I had never had any kind of medical procedure of any kind. I'd never been, put to sleep or under anesthesia or anything like that, and I had a real fear that I was going to go to sleep and never wake up again. Thing that, for me, that put me over the edge, you have to, in order to do this surgery, my insurance required you to do a lot of different things, counseling. One of the things you need to do is you need to go to this informational seminar, and one of the surgeons there was talking, and I don't remember the exact statistic, something along the lines of 70 or 75% of people who are obese that don't do a major change like having gastric bypass surgery will remain obese their whole life. And that really stuck with me, because I had tried so many times in so many different ways to lose weight, and I would. It hit me like a baseball bat. It really did. I just remember seeing flashes of myself trying to work out, trying to be better about my eating, putting the weight back on, and I could really see myself, maybe getting up to possibly 400 pounds and being one of those people that are stuck in bed because they can't get out of bed and things like that. I took the plunge and I did it. And it's funny because a lot of people think that gastric bypass surgery or weight loss surgery, whatever you want to call it, is this free pass, and it's not. I know people, many people who have had the surgery who gained almost all of their weight back because they didn't use the tool properly. And what I say about that is there's a couple of things that go into it, but the main thing you need to do is listen to your body. If you feel full, you need to stop eating. That's it for the most part. And that worked for me for a really long time. Well, I had the surgery, I believe, in June of 2010. I had complications and issues like a lot of people do, but I still was glad that I did it. At first, I got down to as low as 110 pounds in about a year, and that was really, really too low. I remember I had my restaurant, my bakery at the time, and my dad came to see me, and he hadn't seen me in a long time. He started crying, and I mean like weeping crying, not just like tearing up. He was crying, and he was just concerned about me. He just thought that maybe there was something wrong. And I remember he looked at my mom and he said, you didn't tell me he got so small. I leveled out. I was in the 135 to 145 range for years, really. Now, I want to say the summer of 2013, so about 2 years out from the surgery, I wanted to really try and get in shape. I was fine with how much I weighed, but I wanted to try to get in good physical shape. At the place I was working at the time, our trainer, this is when I was selling insurance, car and home insurance, things like that. My trainer had talked about Insanity because he had lost some weight too, and I'd heard about it for years. If you're not familiar with Insanity, it's a weight loss program. Sean T is the trainer. It's very intense, and they call it Insanity because it's really people see some really good results from it, but it's very, very it's hard. It's 6 days a week. In the beginning, the workouts are like 40 to 45 minutes, 6 days a week. It's a 60-day program. Then the second half of the 60 days, the workouts are like over an hour or around an hour. My whole life, I'd never seen results from weight loss in the sense that I never got muscles. I never got that. And me being a big mark for wrestling, you see these people, they're like Greek gods. I got some of those results. I had gastric bypass surgery, so I had loose skin, but I still felt really good about myself. I had a sense of confidence that I never ever had. I don't care, just me personally, I've been someone who's severely obese and someone who looks like an average person. People treat you differently when you're obese. They see through you. It's just different, and it's not as good of an experience. So I had probably felt the most comfortable in my skin during that time than ever in my life. Now, I did that program and I stuck with it for about 6 months, and then over time I didn't do it. Now, I didn't gain any weight, and I was really in that 135 to 145 range for years and years and years, and I was good. One of the things that I would do, because you have a lot of restrictions, obviously, that you're not supposed to drink or eat certain things, have unsweet black tea from Quick Trip. I liked it. It was not water because I didn't want to only drink water all the time, and that worked for me. Every now and then I got to the point where I would have a medium coffee from Dunkin' Donuts on Sundays, just as a treat, and you get something called malabsorptive syndrome and something called dumping syndrome when you have gastric bypass surgery, and that's done on purpose. And basically, if you eat too much food or if you eat too much sugar, you get sick. And that's done to deter you from eating too much or too much sugars and things like that. I still get it to this day. In 2017, I decided to make a huge career change. I was a stockbroker at a financial services firm. It just wasn't what I wanted to do, and I wanted to get into real estate my whole life, really. So I decided to make the change, and I quit my really good paying job to go make it on my own as a real estate agent. And I'm still doing that today. That's my main source of income. I also teach English at a community college part-time. Real estate is how I make my living, and I love it. I'm really glad that I did that. But at the time in Arizona, you had to go to real estate school in person. And it was like, I can't remember how many hours, 120 hours or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, there was a Dunkin' Donuts right next to the school. And I would go there at lunchtime. And so I went from having one medium iced coffee one day a week to having one medium iced coffee every day. And then that became a large iced coffee every day. The thing is, since it's in a liquid form, I can drink a little bit at a time and not feel sick. That sort of got around my surgery. It got to the point where I was having two a day. And then not only was I having two a day, but I would increase my coffee of choice is usually caramel or butter pecan when they have it. I would increase the amount of caramel swirl they put, effectively almost doubling the calories of it. And this has been going on for about 4 years now. And I've been steadily gaining weight a little bit by little bit, but still, good. And I had gotten up to 159, almost 160. I was like, okay, it's getting up there. I need to do something. And then the pandemic hit, so we were home a lot, and we've been home a lot. So not that that's an excuse, but that certainly didn't help things. I already live a pretty sedentary lifestyle. One of my favorite gifts that I'll send about one of my favorite things to do is that thing from Seinfeld, George Costanza sitting in his chair, and he's got like a bunch of drinks on the side, and he's just eating, and I just like to chill out and relax, and that's, to me, that's a great day. That certainly doesn't help. Well, next thing you know, over the past year and a half or so, I go from 160, and this whole time I've been saying, okay, well, we have a running joke in our house that it's like hashtag beach bod, and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, hashtag beach bod. I'm like 2025, 2027, joking around like that's when I'll finally get my stuff together. I weighed myself and I was 180 pounds. While I'm giving out these numbers, these are specific for me and my body, so it's not meant to compare to anyone else or make anyone feel a certain type of way. Again, this is just me. 20 pounds short of 200 pounds, and again, at 5'6", barely, that's on the heavier side, right? I still, from the neck up, I look great, but I said, okay, I really need to make a change. And this whole time, I had it in my head that, oh, well, I'll just, I'll change the way I eat, and I'll do insanity, and I'll get back in shape. It'll be so easy. Not literally easy in the sense that I won't have to do anything, but it won't be hard for me. I decided to do it finally, got serious about it, and when I get serious about something like this, I really, really commit to it, right? I'm measuring food out and stuff. The experience was not at all what I expected or thought it was going to be, and I sort of used the analogy of from The Dark Knight Rises, where, Batman's been out of the game for 8 years, and he, gets a couple of modifications, but he thinks he'll be able to just put his suit back on, and he's going to beat the crap out of Bane and be fine. Oh, well, it didn't really happen that way. It was kind of like this. It's tough because, like as I showed in that, the first week, I only lost a pound. And that's working out 6 days a week, 45 minutes a day. I'm only eating between 900 and 1100 calories, and I don't need marks in the comments telling me, well, the problem is you're not fueling your body. You should just be eating dried chicken breast and kale and broccoli. Okay, I'm not going to do that. All right, now I wasn't eating badly by any means, but I wasn't doing some crazy modified diet. I tried the keto diet, okay? I did that thing a couple of years ago. That was a hard night. Yeah. I only lasted one meal. If I don't like that, I'm not going to eat it. It's just not, for me, one of the greatest pleasures in life is good food. I need to enjoy the food that I'm eating. Stuck to the regimen. I drank lots of water. And again, I was only having between 900 and 1100 calories a day. Mind you, my allotted calories was 1900 calories a day. So I was way under. After my first week, I really thought I was going to lose between 3 and 5 pounds. I know that's a lot, but I just thought between the work I was doing and how hard I was working, I'd have a really good first week to kick me off. And that didn't happen. I only lost 1 pound. And it was really frustrating, almost to the point of devastating. I didn't quit. I didn't give up. I kept going, tried to have a good attitude about things. And I will say, you know, after day 9, I had a really good breakthrough where I was able to physically do more than I could before. I was taking a lot less breaks. I was keeping up. So I did notice that change. Now, I wasn't really noticing too much physical with my body, but I definitely had more wind. My cardiovascular had improved. The second week, I lost 3 pounds, which was okay, but still not great. So a little bit into the second week, I was in a lot of pain. I'm not talking about soreness from working out. It was specifically my knees. The Insanity workout is very dynamic, and that's what I like about it. I'm not the type of guy that wants to be at a gym and some meathead just sitting there throwing up weights. That's just not me. I don't enjoy it, and I don't get that much out of it. And my goal is to lose weight. It's not to build muscle at this time. Even though I had this breakthrough, I was having to the point where I couldn't do the workouts. I had to stop, and I would just have to sort of jog in place. It got worse and worse and worse, and on the third week, my arm was also messed up. My left arm, like, I feel a lot better now, but I couldn't lift my left arm. This was about as high as I could lift it without, I couldn't lift it. I can lift it now. I've got my range of motion back. This was a Friday, and it was very frustrating because after 3 weeks, I'd only lost 4 pounds. 900 to 1100 calories is not that much. So I would literally wake up in the middle of the night hungry, wanting to eat something, and I wouldn't. My whole adult life, I've had problems with sleeping. And one of the things that was not good as part of my routine is I would eat animal crackers in bed, and that would just help just because I'm someone who deals with anxiety and panic attacks. And when I'm in bed at night and there's not a whole lot going on, and I'm trying to suppress some of this stuff in my head so I can just go to sleep, it's difficult to do, right? And I don't do drugs, right? Not even marijuana or anything like that. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I haven't drank alcohol in almost 5 years. Interesting side note, people that have had gastric bypass surgery are 10 times more likely to be alcoholics. So that's something you should really consider. Just for me personally, if you have gastric bypass surgery, you really shouldn't consume alcohol at all. The animal crackers that I eat was a way to sort of, I know it sounds strange, but I put this same lame movie on every night when I'm trying to go to sleep because I wake up 2, 3, 4 times a night and it's hard for me to go back to sleep. It just is, right? So, but here I am where I'm getting not as good sleep because normally my little crutch or whatever that I go to is not working, right? Again, I don't do drugs or alcohol. Normally food is what I'm going to turn to, and I'm not able to use that. It was really difficult. I was very grouchy and crabby and not probably the best person to deal with. Luckily, you know, my girlfriend is great and she's very patient. She was very happy about me not having animal crackers at night because sometimes she'd have to sweep them out of the bed. I know, weird, but it's me. That just added things and made things worse. And then it got to the point where my last day of doing the workout, the Insanity workout, more than half the time I just had to jog in place because I just couldn't do the moves. It was too much on my knees and my arm. I just couldn't. And I kind of had like a breakdown, I guess. I was really frustrated. I was feeling my mortality. I think part of it is, you know, hey, I'm gonna be 38 in a couple months. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. Your metabolism sort of slows down. There's lots of different things that goes with there. But back to that Batman analogy where I'm not a young man anymore and it's not going to be so easy. And so I felt like even though I was working so hard, and you know, 4 pounds isn't anything, it's okay, but for the work that I was doing, I didn't feel that it was equitable, and I feel like I should have gotten more than that with everything that I was doing and putting myself through. So the next day I tried it again, the Insanity workout, and I didn't even last 10 minutes. And then I said, okay, well, you know what? I don't know what I was thinking because I'm having problems with my knees. I said, I'll just go for a really, really light, brisk, you know, jog because I could jog in place when I was doing the workout. And then I went and I took 2 steps and it was, okay, there's no way. So I went for a walk. So I walked for about 45 minutes. You know, you burn this tiny amount of calories walking, but whatever. At that point, I said, I'm going to have to regroup. You know, maybe that's something I can come back to. I'm talking about the Insanity workout right now, not the weight loss goal. But I decided to let myself heal for a week. So this past week I haven't worked out, and to be perfectly honest, I haven't been keeping track of my calories, and I've had plenty of iced coffees. So I wouldn't be surprised if I put on almost all the weight back. You know, I haven't weighed myself yet, but it's so easy to put on weight. It's difficult to get it off and keep it off. So for me, and I'm just looking to lose 30 pounds. I want to get back to around 150 pounds. So again, I'm 5'6", so for me that's comfortable. So then the question becomes, well, where do I go from here? What am I going to do now? I know what I'm going to do. I am shifting to a different program. If you want to find out what that is, you're going to need to follow along. I don't know. I just had this idea in my head that I was going to show this montage of me working out and showing my results, and then having these really great results at the end of 2 months, and I was going to share it with you. I'm someone who's failed a lot in my life. Failure is not something that's new to me. I keep going, and I'm going to keep going with this. But I just wanted to talk about this and share this with you because I'm sure many of you out there have experienced something similar. It's difficult, you know, and I'm in a much better place this week than I was last week. That's also part of why I didn't make this video, make the video yet. I remember trying to think of video ideas. That's another thing, some frustration that I'm having. Like, I'm trying to get this YouTube thing going, and I'm not really picking up a lot of traction. I was trying to find Google Trends, and I just couldn't find anything because there's only so much deals and things I can talk about. And quite frankly, my videos about deals, which you all should really check out, they don't get that much traction. Not very many people watch them, and they miss out on some good deals. Saying before, I have a different program that I'm going to do. I am going to start it this coming Monday. I'm not sure when exactly this video is going to drop. It's something I think I'm just going to go off with a bang. I'll give you a hint there. It's more focused for people specifically if they have body aches or issues. They can do modifications and different things like that, and it's not as high impact as Insanity is. So I'm going to keep you posted, and I'm going to share the journey with you as I go along. If you want to see how this continues, I would really suggest you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel so you can get the videos, and hit the notification bell so you can get notified when they're going to drop. I'm going to keep going, and I hope you come along with me. I just wanted to say thank you all if you've made it this far in this video. But I just want to say to all of you out there, I know it's been a struggle, but keep going. Don't give up. Don't stop. And above all, don't forget. Don't leave money on the table. I'll see you next time.